What's up, guys? Welcome back to another YouTube video. We're going to do a video about my sim setup. We're going to talk about what I use, what I think necessities are, what benefits of certain components you change will be better. We'll look at my custom car that I had made for Assetto Corsa for some of the comps and fun driving that I do for practice. And we'll go over some of the content manager stuff. I'll also go a little bit through some chassis setup so that you guys can see how I set my car up. Everyone drives different, but I kind of like setting it up a certain way. It does translate into the real car. Some of the settings are very similar, so it's kind of cool that you can put those two things together. But let's talk about what I use first. We'll go over the whole sim setup. After that, we'll go over the car and we'll do some laps and then get into it. So starting first, this is the computer setup that I use. I run a Asus ROG. It's pretty much an out-of-the-box computer. Yeah, the only thing I upgraded in it was the RAM. It's running a 3070. It's got I believe a Ryzen 7 something processor or chip. I don't know. I'm not too computer savvy. I had a friend of mine help me set the computer up, and it's pretty much been like this for 5 years, so I am due for an update on it. I don't want to change the case. I do really like the way it looks. Obviously the RGBs and everything are super sick. But yeah, that's what I run for a computer. So it's 3070, it's 32 gigs of RAM, it's DDR4, it's got its base hard drive, which I think is like a 512, and then I put a terabyte SSD in it. So pretty much put all my actual cars and all my files onto the SSD, so it's separate from the running system of the computer. I find that does help it. Some of the guys that I do run against, they do use obviously higher end computers. That is a goal maybe this winter, but priority is the car. Get the car done, get that all set up. The sim is really just practice, so it's not at the top of the list, but it's definitely a want. I run this 32-inch curved gigabit monitor, and then the actual sim setup, I run a Momo Halo seat. I got a Asus tough screen in front of it just to go through menus and stuff. We are on VR. I do run the MetaQuest 2. Whenever I say VR to people, they're like, oh my god, VR. Really? You can pick these things up for like $150. It's a lot cheaper than a 3-monitor setup. And once you get past the motion sickness, it actually ends up being pretty good. But the first little bit of driving, you're trying not to throw up. You get about 15 minutes into it and the room kind of starts to spin. Good tip for that is when I first started, if you put a fan on yourself, it kind of replicates motion. So it makes it a little easier to use, a little bit easier to get used to it. A lot of guys run really fancy stuff. My setup is pretty budget. The frame itself, I picked up off of Facebook Marketplace. It was new for I think like $500. A nice chassis is pretty important. Nothing moves around, so everything's nice and stable. I run a different base. This is probably the most expensive component of my whole sim setup. I run a Sim Magic Alpha Mini. I feel the base is really the most important part, is that's pretty much where you're getting all your feel. You can get adaptive pedals and shifters and hydros and all that stuff, and it's great. Like, don't get me wrong, I would love to have it, but if you're gonna put your money anywhere, I would put it into the base. The base, I feel, is the most important for feedback and actually how the car feels. A lot of guys actually do complain that if they're running like a G25 or a G27 wheel setup, that they can't run VDC cars. They only want to drive like the Gravy Garage cars or Tando Buddy cars. And as much as like some of that is true, I actually drove on a G27 with VDC cars. I didn't find it to be that much more difficult. I actually honestly found the G27 wheel a lot easier. The direct drive stuff is a lot more aggressive, especially dialing it in, getting it to work. I remember when I came off of the G27 and I went to the Alpha Mini, I didn't like it. I wanted to go back to the G27. The Alpha Mini, once it's working now, I went through all the updates and I had my buddy Jamie help put some settings in it, and it's good now. But there's still days where I still feel that I can do better with the G27, but essentially the setup still is a G27. I have G27 pedals, the G27 shifter box, and then I have this Amazon Hydro e-brake. So pretty much what I did is I took apart the G27 steering wheel and I took out the brain of it pretty much. So I took out the main chipset and all the plugs and wires and everything, and I built this sketchy little box that it all contains it in there. But what that lets me pretty much do is it lets me run the pedals and it lets me run the shifter, and I can run all the buttons like a button box on it, so it saves me money there. But realistically, all in all, like the base is about, I think it's like 600 or 650 bucks. That's with a quick release. The steering wheel is, honestly, it's an Amazon special. It's 100 bucks. A G27 pedals and shifter. I mean, you can find a used set if you want to use the pedals and the shifter and do something similar to what I have. And something like that, you could probably find it for like 80 to 100 bucks. The seat, I think I got for like 200 or 300 bucks. You don't need a fancy halo. I got this seat off of Ian Fournier. It was pretty much just something that I really wanted that he had. I was going to put it in my car as a passenger seat, but an OMP ended up coming in, so the car is matching. So the Momo seat is kind of more just like a flex, but I looked up to Ian for years of driving, so anything I could get from him. My first seat was from him, the seat's from him, so I got little mementos of him, as he was kind of the motivation to me actually starting drifting. I'd like to actually do a video probably in the future. We'll chat with him and maybe we'll do like a podcast style video with Ian, shoot some information back and forth, kind of see how FD was back in the day for him versus how it's going to be now for us going into Prospec. He ran it back in 2012, so we're over a decade different now. Two completely different stories. I think it was more grassroots style back then, but still, regardless, I think that there was some really cool info and a good conversation between us to record and share with you guys of both of our experiences in FD, or at least me going to FD now. But anyways, I'm really good at straying off topic. But yeah, realistically, so it's like the base is like, let's say 600, the wheel's 100, so 7. A G27 setup for that stuff is, said, another 100 bucks, so 800. You don't need a fancy seat, you can buy a cheap seat. So let's just say like $100 seat out of a junkyard, that's 900. The actual frame base is 500. We're at 14. $100 Amazon e-brake, 1,500 bucks. So if you don't include the monitor, if you do a VR, like I said, you can find them for like 150 bucks. For 1650, you can have what I think is a very competitive sim. I have won sim events on it. It's good practice for me. It replicates to my car. The base is very important, obviously, because you can set yourself up exactly how you are in your car. The shifter location and the e-brake location on my sim is very similar to my car. So coming off the sim, going into my car, it doesn't really feel any different. It doesn't make it feel weird. Also, I figured while we're in here, we'll show the room off a little bit. So have some aesthetic things on the walls, some trophies and checks of winnings over the years. This is actually my first championship trophy. That's the one I won for grassroots back in 2017. We got a most popular drifter award. There's a shootout trophy. We still got the champagne bottle from that. We got 2 Dark Lotus grassroots trophies up here. We got a second place car show qualifying trophy back there. I got a bunch more of like first, second, and third places tucked away in a box downstairs. These ones are kind of the most meaningful to me. They're the bigger ones and the ones usually for championships. There's the Drift RC. You guys have seen that in the other video. I kind of feel a bit nerdy with all this stuff, but some cool mementos. It's a little bit of a mess. I have my NSX headlight that was in my S13 Pro-Am car. 180SX taillight out of my Pro-Am car with some wall rubs. Those are going to be some cool things eventually, hopefully when I get a shop, bigger one, and I can set those up and light them up on the shelf. I think it'd be really cool. But anyways, straying off topic, I'm really good at doing that. Oh, hey, check it out. ADHD, sorry. There's the Spec D championship trophy. So that's technically the trophy for my license for Prospec. That's a pretty cool little memento there. Anyways, I'm straggling off topic. This is supposed to be a sim video, so let's actually do a sim video. Okay, so this is the replica of my Pro-Am car. A gentleman named, I believe, Revan on Instagram, I'll tag him in this video, made this car for me. This is the first revision. I'm gonna have him redo the Prospec car when we have the rear mount rad and everything in that car. Once the Prospec car gets rewrapped and it's all done, I'll have Revan redo my my sim car. But he spent a good amount of time on it. He's got the Conseys on it. It's got the Nismo bumper, HR hood. It's got the proper Gretty side skirts, all the extensions. Some of these blew off this season, so they're not on the car anymore. I did have these rear spats. They lasted one event. But yeah, he went into pretty decent detail, I would say. That's Aero K shift knob. Pretty cool little detail in the car. He's got my pink handbrake in there. But yeah, I think he did a pretty good job of it. It's got all my sponsors on it. This was actually the first iteration of it, so this is my 2024 car. My 2025 car has a few different sponsors on it. Has the rear wing and a couple other little updates. We did do a different hood for certain events, but yeah, that is my comp car. So the comp car itself, the initial build that he did is based off of a VDC 4.0 S15 Sylvia with the JZ in it. And then we did the motor package out of the E46, so the supercharged LS. That motor package is going to be kind of more similar to what my motor is now in the new car going into Prospec. So I've been practicing with that car with the boost turned down in the game. It's been fun. It's been pretty replicatable. I think on full tilt that car makes 800 horse in the sim. My Prospec car should be about 7 to 750. Fingers crossed if everything goes right. Lordco's going to be going over the motor here pretty soon. Been chatting with them, so progress is going to start probably this weekend. It's Thursday right now, so we're 2 days out of the sim comp. We'll see how it goes. Anyways, started setting myself up here. So I got my VR headset, got a wireless keyboard. Put this headset on. So the cool thing is with this headset is you can see your hand. You point at what you want to click on. So I have to link the headset to the computer before I start. Hopefully the audio is okay because the camera's behind me. Let's fire up Evergreen. So let's run the Formula Drift layout. We'll grab my car right there. Okay, so I'm going to try to keep my head still here, but this is kind of what I was talking about. So you can do full chassis setups. So I do have custom tunes for some of the common tracks that we run. Cool thing is like, yeah, you can change all your gear ratios, tire compounds and pressures, fuel, which will affect the weight of the car and how it transitions. Also grip, turbo, which is essentially just my supercharger. So set to 100. So this is 800 wheel right now. You have all your alignment specs. So it's pretty cool. This game it's a game, but it is a simulator. It is a tool if you use it as a tool. And set up all your diff preloads, brake biased, and then yeah, your rear bar, front bar, spring rates, height, literally everything. Like I said, as you change things, it'll show you the changes that you're making live. I know this looks funny, but I have dialed the car in. I do have a tune for Evergreen. We do set up for a bank. There is specific things you do to a car for a bank. One of the main things you do is you set the camber in the back to actually bite into the bank. So if we're going right, and yeah, if we're coming down the straight, we're going on a right side bank, you want to have negative camber on the outer wheel and you want to have positive camber on the inner wheel. I also like to run a little bit of toe in on the inner wheel. It'll help the car walk up the bank, but that's what helps with even tire wear. That's where you get your full contact patch on the bank. There's a couple other little tricks about it, but anyways, I'll get into some driving. I'll set the camera back up on the seat so you guys can kind of see me work in the sim. Hopefully I can get some replay footage figured out and kind of overlay it in this video. Let's put our setup in. So I have Evergreen right here. Make sure my wheel speed is good, which it appears to be for fourth gear. Oh, that's embarrassing. Forgot to turn the steering wheel on. Oh no! 1 second. Let's talk about this right now while we're doing this. A really bad habit that I see a lot of drifters doing is they're doing this. A lot of overhand. Stop. If you're doing that, don't do it. It's going to end up delaying your reaction. It's really awkward ways of either hurting yourself if your hand ends up in the wheel or something like that, or even worse, you wrecking your car, put it into the wall because your hand position isn't good. Realistically, the car should be driving itself almost. Right? You want to kind of have everything controlled by the input of the throttle. Ideally, your hands should be able to stay close to 9 and 3. Right? Obviously, you're going to feed the wheel a little bit. But even just like figure eights, Let the car do the driving. You should not be fighting the car. I will say that many times. Many of the drift schools that we've done with BCDA, if you're fighting the car, you're not doing it right. And the same thing goes for the sim. If you're fighting the sim, you're not doing it right. It's a balance game, right? So it's kind of like a pendulum. So essentially, when you're drifting, you're mid-throttle, you're balancing, right? You're balancing. You know, if you get more throttle, you're gonna have to add angle, right? When you kind of come back to balance, and when you lift throttle, a lot of the time, you're shallowing up a little bit, right? So it's kind of a pendulum effect. Your steering kind of matches your throttle input. That's just a little tip. So let's do a lap. See, that was bad. My hand rolled over. Let's try that again. You're honestly most in control of the car when you're doing minimal inputs. And that's because most of your input is with your feet. This track actually is pretty tricky on the sim. There's some weird bumps in it. Oh, we tapped the wall. So lap 2, still don't have a successful lap down on the sim. Sim, in my opinion, is a lot harder than real life. I can usually get a pretty decent lap down within 2 laps on an actual track day, whereas the sim, usually 3-4 laps minimum before I put down an okay run. So we're on run number 3 right now. We're off the bank, we're on a little wide there. Through the power alley. Got a downshift. This is where the sim is crucial. It's going to teach you all of the good habits, hopefully, and it hopefully takes out the bad habits. If you got bad habits with sim drifting, this is the time to learn to lose those bad habits. This is essentially a tool. It's like I mentioned in my previous video. As much as sim drifting, yes, it can teach you to drift. Really, what it's teaching you is muscle memory. So what your hands are supposed to do in correlation with your feet, when to push the clutch in when you grab the e-brake, how to load the chassis coming, for example, like off the bank or in a transition between clutch and throttle, how you balance all of that. It teaches you that really well in here. But then there's also guys that are doing this the whole time, and they're blowing axles, blowing drive shafts, blowing clutches. Do not drive like this in real life. It's not good. Nice and smooth. Smooth as fast. So here we are. Lap 4, perfect. The power alley, perfect. I'm gonna push that nose clip. Push out to the last zone. There you go, 4 laps. We got a nice, decent run. Say it's at least an 80-point qualifier. Could be worse, who knows? But I feel that that was a solid run. I'd be pretty happy with that run. Let's see if we can do it one more time. See, bad habit. Hand went over. Right. You see those bad habits there? Forgot the downshift. Okay, you start getting in your head. As soon as you make one mistake, you get in your head and you start making mistakes. So this sim is actually really good at recovering that. So right there, at a weird bobble on the bank, hand went over the 12 o'clock mark, wheeling it over. There are situations where it's going to happen, but try to avoid it. But that screwed up my whole run. I bobbled on the bank, coming off the bank into the power alley, I went wide, and then I'm in my head already. I forgot to downshift 4 to 3 to come into the nose clip. Reset, and go. Bad habit again, we started understeering. As you saw back there, we started understeering, so I got out of it. Another thing that I find a lot of newer drivers are bad for is they'll go and be like, yeah, I want to start drifting, and they'll go to start a drift, for example, and it'll start pushing, or it'll start understeering, right? People panic. You give it a bunch of angle, and they're like, oh, it's understeering, I'm gonna give it more throttle. You're gonna go right into a wall. Of course, the wall didn't work there that time, but right? People think you just turn and throttle when you drift. It's not gonna work. You gotta feel the car. You gotta feel the chassis. You gotta feel the weight shift, right? You're essentially loading up the chassis before you transition to make it snap over. Now, again, the sim, this track is a lot more difficult, so I understeered there on the bank. So there's probably a lot of wheel corrections, and there's a lot of commitment. I shallowed up, and I probably gave it too much throttle on a shallow up, too much left foot brake, and it started pushing the front wheels. So as soon as that happens, the run's done. We don't want to do that this time, so we're going to try again. We're going to come in a lot smoother. I'm going to stay committed on the throttle, be a little lighter on the left foot brake, and hopefully that locks us right around the bank. Just angle up on the wall into the outer zone and then come into the power alley. There's my 4-3 shift into the nose clip, into the last outer zone. So there's nothing wrong with slowing things down in your head. A lot of people start to panic and they go, oh shoot, like, the car's understeering, it's not doing what I want it to do, so I'm gonna drive the car harder. No, it's not what you do. Slow it down, take a second to breathe, rethink what you're trying to do, and restart. And restart 100 times if you need to. But if you keep pushing through on that first initial time or second initial time, like I'm going to push through, I'm angry, you crash your car and then there's no more resetting. It's really easy to just stop and restart it. So let's try this run again. And went over. Bad habit. We're pushing through. See if we can do one better. Yeah, this video's long. I apologize. I'm trying to be informative. I'm trying to kind of go through what's going through my head when I'm driving. I do very similar things in real life, kind of talk myself through it, and then when I physically come off the line, my mind goes blank, and my body does what it needs to do. And that's where the training on the sim comes into real life play for me. So everyone's different, but that's how it works for me. Try this run again. Sweet, that felt good. Let's go over that last run on the outside view. I couldn't figure out how to get it up on the screen or download it, so for now it's going to be part of the vlog. I will eventually figure out how to screen record it. I've been able to do it in the past. My computer's doing something weird tonight, so anyways, looking at the screen, try to center this before I start it. It's not a perfect run, I will be completely honest about that. There's definitely some wavering and stuff, but this is that last run, which I don't think we did a terrible job. You can see we come through the start chicane, flick up onto the wall, definitely some wavering. The sim is a lot harder to do this than real life. Good power rally, outer one, outer two, hit the inner box clip. Nice fluent line out to the wall through the last zone and shut down. And that's a wrap. Hopefully that is some good info for you guys today. I know it was probably a long one. I do like to get technical and share as much info as I can with you guys. A lot of guys have always asked me for tips and tricks. Essentially, I guess this is the best way to explain it to the people that have asked. The easiest way for me to communicate is just, hey, go watch my video, and I'll try to explain as much as I can. But anyways, I do really appreciate you guys watching. I do appreciate you guys subscribing. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do like and comment on the video. It helps grow the channel. I'm still learning this YouTube stuff. I'm doing my best efforts at it. If there's anything that you guys can add in the comments that you'd like to see, or anything that I could improve on, any feedback is greatly appreciated. That's a wrap for now, and I will see you in the next one. See you guys.